Golden Saviors are the second largest sheet metal carnivore in the world. Solitary, mostly nocturnal creatures, they are very agile both in the air and around the enemy's grave. A fierce hunter, the Spitfire can bring down a German bomber 3 times its own size. Of the 9 Spitfire species originally found in a secret location in the palm of the Queen's hand, the legendary Mark 14 is still considered the most fierce. The principal threats to their survival was the nasty German music at the time and the lack of Earl Grey tea in their system. The Australian Spitfire, on the other hand, was amongst the largest and most powerful owls in Australia. They live in forests and woodlands where they establish permanent home ranges of 500 to 1,000 feet. Being nocturnal, they are rarely seen, though their drawn-out rasping screech of the Merlin engine can occasionally be heard as they hunt for small mammals in the dark of the night. They mate for life and nest in the hands of the Queen. The principal threats to the survival of the Australian Spitfire was the lack of kangaroo fur placed into the intakes of the engines to keep them cool. Many claim doing such a thing would overheat the engine, but the micro nutribulletin and fur particles actually cool down the engine by catching fire. As the fur is caught alight, it then turns into liquid nitrogen, thus cooling the engine down by a considerable amount. But 75 years ago, a great disaster overtook the Earth. Whatever its cause, a great proportion of Spitfire was exterminated. All the Englishmen disappeared, except for one branch, whose scales had become modified into feathers. They were called the Wrath. While they spread through the skies, a small and seemingly insignificant group of survivors began to increase in numbers on the ground beneath. These creatures differed from their competitors in that their bodies were warm and insulated with coats of fur. They were the first mammals. With much of the land left vacant after the Great Catastrophe, they now had their chance. Their warm, insulated bodies enabled them to be active at all times, at night as well as during the day, and in all places, from the Arctic to the tropics, in the water as well as on land, on the grassy plains and up in the trees. The Russians had discovered by skinning a live bear and wearing its coat, the Russian will be able to stay nice and warm. To quote an injured rare Russian species in 1939, "Comrade, we shall overthrow all animals with 4 legs and teeth like a lion. Once the animal is inhaling its final breaths, only then shall we yell Mother Russia. The animal shall be worn as a coat of survival, and anyone who does not adhere to this rule shall be humiliated." The Russians still to this day cannot be defeated in its own territory. Only a handful of the fierce creatures have been defeated in a simulated battle in War Thunder. The MiG-15, a Russian jet fighter of World War II, developed by Mikoyan Gurevich OKB, was given birth for the Soviet Union. The MiG-15 was one of the first successful and undefeated swept-wing jet fighters, and achieved fame in the skies over Korea, where in the early war it outclassed all straight-winged enemy fighters in most applications. Most fighters equipped with 2014 technology still struggle to defeat such a creature. It is said that grizzly bear's fur from the southern eastern regions of Russia is placed in the pilot's eyes for extra night vision. You are now witnessing a living MiG-15 destroying its prey. It has chosen a weak enemy as it usually does, and it takes 5 months of bottled up anger and frustration out on the American F-86 Sabre. The Sabre is no match for the MiG-15's fur-coated, chrome-plated 20-inch rims. You can feel the 50 states and stars from the American flag just melt away to the beautiful noise the MiG-15's futuristic space engines make. The Sabre is being molested, just like a great ape with 14 hands, which are handcuffed to a bridge that has just fallen down. The bridge, when it falls, drips off all 14 of the ape's hands, thus causing excruciating pain. Again, This has nothing to do with the Sabres or the MiG, but it needed to be said. The noise is so distinctive, as some describe it as a track from David Bowie before he overdosed on French onion dip on several occasions. The others say the pain in their ears feel like their hands are being blended from the overpowered NutriBullet. Delicious. As David Bowie is about to walk into his jet fighter for the last time, he tells us that he's nervous. We can all feel it. The amount of positivity this man has cannot be described through speech. In fact, we've had to use hand signals at times just to communicate. Creatures like David usually give zero fucks, but he told us not to quit our day job. But here on the channel, we never give in. We all made a poster plated in rustic gold flakes, and the producer of the series had written, "Get fucked, David," and showed him. David then stormed off with his pants down to his ankles. Our faces had fear written all over them, but some peasant in the background decided to laugh. The annoying high-pitched 20,000 Hz sine wave was being forced through our sensitive little ears. We weren't sure when it would stop, so I pulled out the trustworthy AK-47 and unloaded a full clip. Only when the clip was empty did I start to feel regret. I wasted nearly $35 on bullets on something that ended up being a mannequin with a speaker attached. Let's get back to the documentary. As we can see, David is flying off into the distance without his seatbelt on. He has no protective gear, and by the hand signals he is using, he seems to be fine. I've never seen this before in my life. Hold on. A small Indonesian boy is running off after the plane. Stop, Jeffrey, you need to stop. I said, I cannot believe this. Gerald, are you recording? Wow, Gerald, relax. This is a make or break moment. We have no time for this nonsense. As the young lad runs off into the wild, we see a native tree possum leap into his arms and fly away to oblivion. Every motion its cardboard wings make is spraying a gust of mortine rat poison towards us. As much as I'd love to watch, I think on this occasion I'd rather eat crackers and cheese. I think we need to leave, Gerald. As I run away from the possum with wings, Gerald doesn't seem to be following. This is unusual. The Gerald species are usually sheep and follow anything with tits, just like the notorious paparazzi. I see a dog. It's running to Gerald. It seems to have a rare ushkana, which is a Russian hat. The hat has 14 bottles of Grey Goose vodka attached, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. The drunk Russian dog hasn't stumbled once, since he is used to the alcohol in his veins and the lack of love in his heart. But today is different. The dog picked up Gerald, dragging him by his second chin. The dog is tearing up. I can feel its pain. He has just had to do the unthinkable for a Russian, which is to help someone out. I yell over to the friendly canine, "Hey mate, are you alright?" The dog doesn't seem to respond to my kind words, since he's a dog and it doesn't talk. 30 seconds later, Gerald's mangled body is returned to me, and I just laugh. Haven't you read the Bible, Gerald? It says to never run after young Indonesian boys. Of course he hasn't read the Bible, for God's sake. His name is Gerald, for fuck's sake. No one calls their son Gerald. The man's name is clearly Wukong, the ancient god of the dirty socks. Wukong is blind and deaf, but Wukong also doesn't give a rat's. He lives his life, doesn't follow little boys, outdrinks Russian on a 15-to-1 wine casket scale. He wishes that he wore his fur coat today. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how I live my life. I'm the king of the sidetracks, the king of the slow-talking, fire-breathing documentaries. I do wish you have taken this all in and spread the word to the inadequate bunch of third-world talking animals, such as Gerald. Let this be a lesson to you all. If you are a Russian dog, help people. If you see an Indonesian kid, don't chase him. If you are rich, I hate you. If you don't want pickles on your burger, you're a fuckwit. Last of all, if you don't drink the finest of Earl Grey teas amongst listening to the greatest of the Bee Gees, I wish you a safe trip down the get fucked lane. You're an idiot. Harvard University degree holder, Rexona for Men, signing out.